Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a video today to share my thoughts and discuss what is easily the most controversial topic in the soccer cleats slash football boots world, and that is Nike versus Adidas. Who's making better boots? More specifically, who's making better boots right now? I'm not necessarily going to be talking about the two brands historically and what they've done in the past. I'm talking about what's available from the two brands right now, mainly in regards to their top end products, flagship models, the highest end shoes, the $200 to $300 price point. With that in mind, I'm going to leave a little pop-up in the corner of the screen that will reveal a poll where you can vote Nike or Adidas. Which one do you think is the better brand right now? Leave your opinion in that poll and feel free to leave your own opinions down below in the comment section as well. But like I said, in this video, I'm going to be sharing my opinions on this particular topic. And please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, I'm not representing any brand. I'm not being paid to say anything good or bad about another brand. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I simply review products and I'm very brutally honest about it. I think that's partially why my reviews have been so successful and people really do value my opinion. So like I said, all of the opinions that I'm going to share in this video are 100% genuine. You might not agree with them. You might have a different opinion in general. But like I said, these are my genuine opinions. If you want to hear what they are, stick around. If not, click off the video. With that being said though, let me talk about what I think about Nike versus Adidas. Let me start off by talking about how I think these two brands should even be compared in the first place. Whenever two companies make what is deemed equivalent products, people want to make an apples to apples comparison, which is perfectly understandable. And when you're comparing Nike and Adidas, you can do that based on the marketing material. For example, control boots. Obviously, no shoe is going to improve your control, but they can market their shoes as control boots. There's nothing wrong with that technically. So with Nike, the control boot, the flagship would be the Magista Obra 2. With Adidas, it would be the Pure Control, the 17 Plus Pure Control. Now, obviously, again, they're both listed as control boots, but are they really similar? Are they equivalent products? Not at all. The fit, the feel, the performance characteristics, the overall experience of the Pure Control versus the Obra 2, entirely different. They shouldn't be compared at all. Same comparison can be made with the Mercurials and the X line. Yeah, they're both listed as speed boots, but the experience, the fit, the feel, everything about them is entirely different. So is it really an apples to apples comparison from line to line? I would argue no. It's not a good way of comparing Nike and Adidas. So what is? For me, especially being someone that has worn all the boots from Nike and all the boots from Adidas, I've had an opportunity to experience them all. The thing that really jumps out at me when you're comparing Nike and Adidas, the big thing, is variety. What I really like about Nike and what's super noticeable when you try on all of their shoes, especially if you have the opportunity to do it back to back to back, is that every single line, every single model has a distinctly different fit. It has a distinctly different shape. It has a distinctly different feel. There's something about that shoe that is completely unique to only that shoe, and you're not going to get it from anything else within the brand. So as an example, a Magista Obra 2 is going to feel so much different in comparison to a Mercurial Vapor 11. It really is a night and day difference, which is great. Somebody who loves the Vapor 11 might hate the feel of the Obra 2, and somebody who hates the feel of the Vapor 11 might love the Obra 2. That's perfectly fine. I think that's a good reason to have 4 silos in the first place, which Nike has. The Tiempos, the Mercurials, the Magistas, and the Hypervenoms. Every single line has its own unique experience on offer. Every single boot has a different experience. With Adidas, with the X, the Ace, the Messi, and the new Copa line, you have the exact same sprint frame base, the sole plate, on every single boot. Yeah, there's a little bit of variety in terms of how the structure is made through the midfoot with the stabilization and the little kind of rigidness they add there. But for the most part, they're the exact same shape to the base of all of their shoes. So what you'll find is that if you put on an Ace 17.1, it's going to have pretty much the same shape as the Ace 17 Plus Pure Control, which is going to have the exact same shape as the Pure Chaos, which is going to have the same shape as the Pure Agility, going to have the same shape as the Copa. You get what I'm saying here. They all have pretty much the same overall fit profile from every single line, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's also not a good thing. If you're somebody who puts on an Adidas shoe and you just don't like how that shoe fits or feels, mainly because of the base, you're gonna have pretty much the exact same fit and negative experience with all of their lines because they're essentially all this exact same base. The other thing is the stud patterns. And again, this is more of a personal complaint as opposed to I guess a complaint that could be 100% deemed objective. This is definitely a subjective opinion here, but I don't really care for every single line having the exact same stud pattern as well. They all have the same layout. They're all technically FG-AG stud patterns, which I guess is a positive thing. And yeah, there is some variety to the shape of the actual stud tips themselves. But for the most part, again, if you've worn them all, the experience that each of them provides is pretty much the same. There's really not a whole lot of variety from a stud pattern and sole plate perspective. So for me, the variety aspect between Nike and Adidas, Nike's definitely winning that battle, and that's what I really like about their line in general. Every line can be justified as offering a different experience, whereas with Adidas, yeah, the uppers are going to be different, and that is going to in turn change the feel of the shoe a little bit, but because they all have the same base, because they all have the same stud pattern, there's a lot more similarities from line to line than what you'll find with Nike. The next point of comparison, and this is a big one, especially when you're talking about new top-end boots, is technology. Whenever a new shoe comes out, the brand is always touting what's new about that product, what new technologies, what new materials, what new implementations they've made to make that the best version of that boot, the best version of that boot from that particular line, or the best new product in general. So when you're talking about technological advancement, again, I don't see Adidas moving forward in a positive manner when being compared to Nike. What I really like about what Nike has done, is doing, and really has always done in terms of progressing technology in soccer cleats / football boots, is that they never seem to be copying anybody, and they're always coming out with new ideas that aren't just new for the sake of being new, they're new for the sake of changing something. They're offering a different experience than what we had before, but an experience that is just as good, not necessarily just different for the sake of being different. Flyknit is a really good example of that innovation, and I know Adidas has their PrimeKnit technology as well. I've compared the two in the video before. I'll leave a pop-up on screen. Go ahead and check it out. It's really, really interesting if you don't know the backstory between Nike Flyknit and Adidas PrimeKnit. Nonetheless, I think Nike with their Flyknit technology, when they first introduced that in 2014 with the original Obra and the Superfly 4, that really changed the industry. That forced every other brand to introduce something in regards to having either a knitted upper or modifying the cut of their shoes. Standard low cut shoes are almost deemed boring by today's modern, I guess, standards, if you will. A lot of kids don't necessarily want a regular low cut shoe, they want something with a collar. And again, the whole cut thing is something that is more based on personal preference as opposed to offering any kind of tangible performance benefit, but it's a really interesting idea, and it definitely has changed the way that we look at soccer shoes from 2 years ago, and I would say for the foreseeable future. I don't necessarily see this trend going away. And also, when you're talking about synthetic materials, I really think that Nike has pretty much always been ahead of the game with any other brand, not just when being compared to Adidas. Their Flyknit uppers are excellent. Their synthetic uppers, be it the new Opus 2 version 2 with its Kangolite synthetic, the Mercurial Vapor 11 with its Tasian synthetic. I really think that Nike, when you're talking about synthetic materials, they are ahead of everybody by a long shot from a quality standpoint. Now with Adidas and their technology that they introduce, it almost seems like they're at a point where the brand is going more so for shock value as opposed to, I guess, new technologies that actually benefit performance. It's more so that the shoe is interesting and cool as deemed by the public by way of marketing, as opposed to actually being really, really good. Objective performance characteristics. And again, the Pure Control is something that I've always harped on this channel. It's something that I'm not a big fan of. The laceless system, while it's very popular, while a lot of people think it's cool, when it comes to actually having a shoe that fits, performs, and offers good responsiveness, it isn't as good as a shoe with laces. And we have that right now in the form of the Ace 17.1 PrimeKnit. Essentially the exact same boot as the Pure Control, but with laces, and the end result is a shoe that performs much better, it fits much better, it's much more responsive, it's a better shoe objectively overall when you're talking about pure performance. The other thing to consider in regards to Adidas is their synthetic materials. And yeah, they are getting better, but they're really one of those companies that, in my opinion, they're very hit and miss when it comes to synthetics. You look at a boot like the Pure Chaos, synthetic upper, I really like how those feel. But if you look at a shoe like the Messi Pure Agility with its Agility Knit synthetic, I'm personally not too crazy about those. I just don't really like how that feels in comparison not just to the Pure Chaos, but in comparison to most synthetics out there. It's just not something that I think is all that great. If you're talking about their Prime Knit upper, which obviously is going to be featured on the Ace line, the 17.1 and the Pure Control, when you're comparing that knitted upper to what Nike has in the Ober 2, the Superfly, and the Hypervenom Phantom 3, it's such a night and day difference where, again, you almost can't compare the two. They're similar technologies, but the end result in terms of the feel and experience of that product, so far apart, it's not even funny. So again, when it comes to new technology in soccer shoes and actual performance characteristics, Adidas has some good performing shoes. I like the Pure Chaos. I like the A17.1 Prime Knit. I really like the Copa 17.1. Not really crazy about the Messi line, if I'm very honest about that. But I think across the board, from a performance standpoint, every single top-end model from Nike offers something unique, offers a positive experience, and is legitimately a very good shoe in my opinion. So again, these are just my opinions, but I want to make them very clear. The final way to compare these two brands is purely subjective, and that is opinions on the looks. Some people love the look of Nike boots, some people love the look of the Adidas boots, some people like both, some people hate both. Everyone has their own opinion on looks, so is it really a good way to compare the two brands? No, not necessarily. Do I have a strong opinion in regards to what brand I think makes better looking shoes? Not really, if I'm completely honest. I am a really strong believer that if you are picking out a brand new pair of boots, yeah, the looks matter to a certain extent. You don't want to wear a pair of shoes or buy a pair of shoes that you think are ugly, but it should never be the first priority, the first thing that you consider when buying a new pair of boots. You have to consider fit, you have to consider feel, you have to consider what you're looking for in a shoe specifically, aside from just the way that it looks. If a shoe looks really good, but it doesn't fit you properly, you shouldn't buy that shoe, regardless of how good looking it is. Again, it's just not a good way to pick shoes, but feel free to leave your opinions down below in the comment section as to which brand you think makes better looking boots. So what's my answer to this question? Who makes better boots right now, Nike or Adidas? For me, the answer is Nike, simply based on justified variety. And what I mean by that is they have all these different top-end models, but every single top-end model, not only is it legitimately good, but they're all legitimately different from each other. There's something for everybody. And to me, that's what every brand should strive for in a product line, is that if you're gonna offer all these different products, every single one should be different, every single one should be good, and there should be something for everybody. And I feel like Nike has that right now, whereas Adidas, not to say that they lack variety, because they definitely don't, but like I said, because they all have the same sprint frame, because they all have the same stud pattern, right away there are some major similarities from every single boot within their current top-end line. And also, like I talked about a little bit, it feels like they're a brand right now, they're doing a great job at marketing, but their marketing is more so based around the shock value of their technologies and their designs that aren't necessarily different for the sake of being better, they're more so just different for the sake of being different. So again, not to say that that's a bad thing, but I would like to see new technologies and new stuff being introduced that's legitimately better and improvement on what we had before, as opposed to just something that's unique because it's something that people are going to be interested and want to buy just because it's unique, not because it's necessarily better. So I hope that makes sense. I didn't make this video to try and anger anybody. If you really like Nike or you really like Adidas and you're unhappy with what I said, I apologize. This is not something that I'm trying to make people angry. It's something that I wanted to make because a lot of people asked me about it, and I wanted to give a legitimate, brutally honest opinion on what this question is. Nike or Adidas, who's making better shoes right now? And if you ask me right now, I think Nike's doing a little bit of a better job. So with that in mind, if you have any questions regarding anything that I talked about, or if you have any opinions of your own, feel free to share those down below in the comment section. I'll answer your questions. I'll take a look at what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.